Hey guys, welcome to Troy Time. Hey, I just wanted to give you a real quick update on some emergency preparedness stuff, some current events that are happening right now, and get you informed going forward so that you understand some of the things that are going on out there. Okay, so stay tuned to this. We're going to go over that and just reflect on some information that I gave out just a couple months ago. Okay, so stay tuned. It's coming up next. Okay, guys, so what we've seen lately in the news is that there are communication devices that are exploding, okay? Basically, they've been hacked, okay? Some people are thinking that they've been laced with explosives. It's much more likely, in my mind, that they are actually just hacking the code that controls the batteries of these devices, which puts that battery, lithium batteries are actually highly explosive, okay? They've got software in them that monitors the battery, and it prevents it from going into what's called thermal runaway. Okay, if a lithium battery goes into thermal runaway, it will overheat and it will explode. Oftentimes, quite a violent explosion. Okay, so there've been I think 4,000 people injured, something like that, and there's been I think a dozen deaths. All right, so it's right now it's isolated to the Middle East, right, and it's isolated to a particular group that was targeted. I don't want to get into the politics of all of it, but as a person who has a preparedness mindset, it's important that we understand that these tools are out there, that they exist. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen tomorrow or anything like that, but you can expect in the future, here in the United States and in Europe and things that you could see something similar. Okay, and so it's concerning, yes. And so a couple months back, I made a video where I raised the concern about the rising possibility of cyber attacks. Okay, in that video, I recommended strongly picking up a second device. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that in just 1 second. I'll leave a link to that video in the description, but I definitely recommend you take the short couple minutes it takes to get through that video, watch that video, and get one of those devices, okay? It really only costs $10, and it's gonna have a ton of benefits, okay? I'm just gonna allude back to that video real quick and go over some key points. This is a couple months ago, and you might have looked at that video then and thought, wow, that's, why is he messing around with this old cell phone, and what's he doing with the battery? Might not have made a lot of sense. But if we're looking back with a little bit of hindsight now, you'll see that the things that I talked about were very pertinent and very thought out choices, okay, that I made when I made that recommendation. So let me just hit a couple of the key areas. So essentially what I want you to do is I want you to have a standalone device for all your files, okay, for your entertainment stuff, for all your movie files, for all your TV files, for your music, for all your music files, and even all like your family photos and things like that. You don't want to rely on the net. Many people rely on the cloud and all that kind of thing. Well, the internet might not always be available or available to you, right? So it's really a good idea to store a lot of files locally. And it's really a good idea to have a second device, okay? I want to talk a little bit about why I made the choices I did in that previous video. So first off, I chose a very old cell phone, okay? I did that for two reasons. One, because it's extremely cheap. That cell phone's on sale for $6, right around $6. Okay, so it's available to anyone. Even a child can get $6 together, okay? Anyone can access that, all right? And then I do a small battery hack with that only costs $3. So your entire purchase is less than $10. You're not buying it from me. I don't make any money or anything like that. I just recommend you get these two things and do what I said in the video. But I did choose a very old cell phone. And you might think, well, why is he choosing that thing? Well, one reason is it's very low power. Yes, that's great. It's a lot of other benefits. It also has an FM radio, an over-the-air radio, which is great for emergencies, okay? Again, if you're relying on the internet for streamed radio, you might not always have that available to you. So it has an over-the-air radio. You can't even buy an emergency radio for $10, and this phone has one. So now that you're going to get the phone, you get the FM radio, you get the file playing all your files. So by choosing the older phone, it's given me the ability to get it very inexpensively. Okay, additionally, the old phone is not going to be a very valuable target. That old phone is obscure, and that obscurity is a benefit if you're looking just to have something that's not in anyone's purview, okay? If people are looking at hacking and getting into the drivers that control things and stuff, they're looking to do it in, this year's iPhone or the latest update to the iOS or something like that. Nobody's taking the time or bothered to go and hack, 17-year-old cell phones or anything like that. It's just not worth the time or effort. There's no one still using those things daily, right? And so by having that old phone, you sort of reduce your exposure in that no one's out there digging away trying to do things on these older phones for the most part, right? You've at least decreased the probability that you'll be a target. Secondly, we've made that old phone stand alone completely, all right? Which means you're never going to connect it to a phone service and you're never going to connect it to an internet. In that video, I specifically speak about side loading all the software that goes on there, which means side loading, you just put the data on a SD card and then you put that SD card in the phone, but that phone never actually connects to the internet, okay? So it's standalone. It gives you another layer of isolation, another layer of protection. Thirdly, and this one's huge, and this is why it's relevant, I connected a remote battery to that phone, okay? And there's several reasons that I did that. One is that it's going to greatly increase the capacity. That a USB battery is going to power that phone, and it's going to have about 7 or 8 times the capacity of the original battery that was in that phone. So it's a huge plus up to have that battery. But secondly, when I remove the power cord from that battery, that phone is dead. If there is no battery left in that phone, when it's off, it is off, okay? It's not available to anyone to be hacked or to be used in any malicious way whatsoever. It's got no battery at all. It's got no battery at all locally. It's only got power when you actually stick the USB cord into the USB battery. Apart from that, it's completely isolated. You may or may not know this, but when you shut your phone off, it's still available to be pinged, okay? So your phone isn't always completely off when it's off. Probably the third and the biggest one, at least pertinent for what we're talking about today, is that when I gave that phone a remote battery, it's impossible for that phone to drive a remote battery into thermal runaway. There's no communications from the phone to the battery. It's completely isolated. All it has is power connections. And if the phone shorts itself or does anything funky with the power, that battery has its own protective software in it, and it will shut down. And in shutting down the battery, again, it cuts all the power to the phone, okay? So, a lot of reasons that I chose what I did. It's a really good thing to get. I didn't have nearly the amount of subscribers that I had when I made that video, so a lot of you probably haven't seen it. So I'll link it here. Go back and watch that video. Get that phone, okay? Super valuable thing to have, to be prepared. As conflicts are rising throughout the world, and if something were to happen where it puts us into like a year of chaos, you don't want your phone to get bricked the second day in and go a year with none of your data. Okay, so by having a phone set aside, stand alone, it's going to be available to you. Okay, it's going to make your life much more enjoyable and easy. Okay, the particular phone that I selected, it'll play video files for like TV shows and movies. It'll play music, right? It'll play tons of games. There's another video I made of loading games on it, retro emulators. So all of your Nintendo games and things like that, your Nintendo NES, your Super NES, your Game Boy, all those sort of things, you can load the emulators on that phone and have tons of games. So you've got tons of entertainment. And you can put things like family photos on there. And you can put like instructional videos, right? Like that might be useful in chaos, right? Like how to make a rocket stove or general first aid or how to purify water, things like that. You can put instructional videos on there too. So it's very valuable. And it's got the radio, right? The emergency radio, the FM radio. And so that's just a huge plus. And just as a side note, if batteries are exploding, you really don't want to be putting, Bluetooth earphones in your ears, right? That could be a bad thing. So if that happens, this phone actually still has an old headphone jack where you can actually stick a wired headphone directly into the headphone slot. You actually have to do that when you use the radio because it uses the headphone cord as an antenna, right? But there's no batteries in the corded headphones to blow up or anything like that. So it's a really, really good way to go. The phone is super useful. It's super inexpensive. I just really recommend to everyone get this phone, put some local files on it, and that can really help you out should a situation occur where things get chaotic, all right? So things are escalating. You want to take some steps. This is real easy to do, guys. It's $10 and it's 10 minutes of your time, okay, if that. Yeah, so I highly recommend go back, watch that video, pick up that phone, pick up that wire, do that simple little battery hack where you install the remote battery, and you'll be golden, guys. You can put that thing away and you'll have something really valuable if it gets chaotic, okay? So that's my tip for today. I hope you do it, guys. Seriously, go back, watch that video, get that phone. This is Troy Time. We'll talk to you soon. I'm out.